Hey everybody, I'm Brad Means.
I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thank you for joining us tonight.
We do appreciate it. As coverage you can count on continues with the investigation into the death of Latania Janell Carwell. Here we are now just a few days after law enforcement found her body, the identification coming just yesterday. News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose joining us live on Golden Camp Road, where a prayer vigil is underway near the site where that child's body was found. Renetta?
That's right, Brad. And as people reflect on this case and think about it from the past year, there are still so many questions left unanswered. Now, the sheriff did talk about a lot of details of the case today, but we will still need to wait to get answers when the autopsy returns.
What causes a seemingly normal and well-loved teenager from a good background to fall victim to a murder committed by their own family? Eerily, it seems that we are seeing it happen now more than ever before. There are teenagers vanishing without a trace, and many people are asking the question, why? Could it be a hidden danger lurking within the home, or could it stem from something else? Everyone from licensed professionals to social media commentators gives their opinions about why this happens. But without being in the minds of those responsible for these heinous acts, we can never truly know for sure. We can only guess what things play a role in turning a seemingly safe environment into a scene of horror. This is the story of Latania Janell Carwell, a vibrant and promising 16-year-old girl whose life was tragically cut short by those she trusted most. Born and raised in Augusta, Georgia, Latania was a standout student and a beacon of light in her community. Her potential was limitless, but on her 16th birthday, she vanished without a trace, setting off a desperate search and a chilling investigation. This is a truly terrifying story, and it will stay with you a long time after watching. So, if you think you're ready, let's begin.
The autopsy will take several days, so more time until we get several answers that many of us still have. Now, the sheriff is expected to make a statement tomorrow at the sheriff's office. We're live in Augusta.
Latania Janell Carwell was first reported missing last April 17th when her mother, Tanya Tripp, said she left her with her stepfather, Leon Tripp. Tanya Tripp told police Latania and Leon Tripp were going to help a friend of Leon's. On May 23rd, Leon Tripp was arrested in DeKalb County on a stalking charge. Tanya Tripp was also arrested in Richmond County, charged with hindering the apprehension of a criminal. Then on June 12th, it was announced that Leon Tripp was being charged with murder in the case. Both he and Tanya Tripp remain in jail.
Latania Janell Carwell was more than just a name in the headlines. She was a vibrant and promising young girl whose life was tragically cut short. Born and raised in Augusta, Georgia, Latania was known for her infectious smile and warm personality. Friends and family often spoke of her as a beacon of light, someone who had a positive impact on everyone she met. Latania was a standout student at T.W. Josie High School. Her teachers and classmates admired her intelligence, creativity, and critical thinking skills. Lori Miles, one of her teachers, remembered Latania as everything that any parent could have asked for. She was not only a great writer, but also a compassionate friend who was always willing to lend a helping hand. Latania's potential was limitless, and she had dreams of making a difference in the world. She had a passion for writing and was known to pen down her thoughts and stories in a journal she kept close. Latania was also deeply involved in her community, participating in various school activities and local events. She had dreams of going to college and pursuing a career that would allow her to help others, embodying the spirit of kindness and empathy. The nightmare began on April 17, 2017, Latania's 16th birthday. Her mother, Tanya Tripp, reported that Latania had left their Tate Road home with her stepfather, Leon Tripp, supposedly to help a friend of Leon's. That was the last time anyone saw Latania alive. The community rallied together, organizing search parties, prayer vigils, and spreading the word through social media, desperate to find any clue that could lead to her safe return. As days turned into weeks, the hope of finding Latania began to wane, but the community's determination never faltered. They were relentless in their search, holding on to the belief that she would come home. Meanwhile, law enforcement was working tirelessly behind the scenes, piecing together the events leading up to Latania's disappearance. The case took a chilling turn as investigators began to uncover inconsistencies in the story provided by Tanya Tripp. Initially, Tanya claimed that Leon had taken Latania to help a friend in the Atlanta area, but their truck was soon found abandoned near their home, raising suspicions about the true nature of the trip.
During the investigation, based on information we received from Latania Tripp, it was believed or led to believe that Leon Tripp had driven himself along with her daughter, 16-year-old daughter, Latania, to the Atlanta area in their white GMC truck. On April 23rd, that truck was located on the 3000 block of Woodbriar Court, which is around the corner from the original address. As the investigation continued, more and more inconsistencies became relevant in Tanya Tripp's testimony. So on May 1st, the Sheriff's Office applied for a warrant for kidnapping against Leon Tripp. Approximately 22 days later, on May 23rd, after receiving information, tips from the U.S. Marshal Service, located Leon Tripp in the Atlanta, Georgia area. To our surprise, Tanya Tripp was also accompanying Leon Tripp.
From the outset, the investigation into Latania's disappearance was fraught with challenges. County Sheriff Richard Roundtree and his team were misled by what he later described as a well-rehearsed story given by Tanya Tripp on the night Latania and Leon disappeared. Tanya's account placed the pair in the Atlanta area, supposedly traveling in their white GMC truck. However, inconsistencies in her testimony soon became apparent.
First of all, thank you all for coming this morning. What I will do is give you a brief timeline of when the investigation started, where we are, and then kind of open it up for some questions. Please understand, as you know, that it's still an ongoing investigation, that we have to, some of the information I can't reveal. Feel free to ask your question, but just understand that some things I cannot state because of the fact that this investigation is still moving forward. On April 18, 2017, Tanya Tripp first reported her daughter, Latania Carwell, and her husband, Leon Tripp, were missing. That started a missing persons investigation with the Sheriff's Office.
On April 23rd, the truck was located not far from their home, raising further suspicions. By May 1st, the Sheriff's Office had obtained a warrant for Leon Tripp's arrest on charges of kidnapping. The breakthrough came on May 23rd when the U.S. Marshal Service located Leon in Atlanta, with Tanya shockingly found to be concealing him. This revelation led to both Leon and Tanya being taken into custody, with charges against them intensifying. The community watched in horror as the details unfolded. Leon Tripp, once a trusted figure in Latania's life, was now the prime suspect in her disappearance. Tanya's involvement in concealing Leon added another layer of betrayal, as the mother who should have been seeking justice for her daughter was found to be protecting the man responsible for her disappearance.
The sheriff says he expects the pending autopsy will answer questions people still want to know. So far, we know the case focuses on the Terrace Manor area, starting with Janell's last known location at her Tate Road home, her body nearby on Golden Camp Road, and the family's truck abandoned off Old McDuffie Road.
The people we have in custody are responsible for her death.
Now, as this case moves into the next phase, which is to go before a grand jury for indictment, the community still mourns.
Months passed with little progress until March 8, 2018, when a homeowner surveying their backyard on Golden Camp Road made a gruesome discovery: human remains. The scene was immediately secured, and forensic experts, including Dr. Elvis Gooding, were brought in to examine the site. The following day, a thorough search confirmed the worst fears. The remains belonged to Latania Janell Carwell.
On March 8th of 2018, we received a phone call from a citizen that they were surveying the backyard of a residence at 2211 Golden Camp Road and had discovered what they believed to be human remains. At that time, the scene was secured. We made contact with Dr. Alice Gooding, anthropologist contracted through the GBI. The scene was secured on March 9th. Investigators, along with Dr. Gooding, returned to the Golden Camp Road address and conducted a thorough forensic anthropologist dig of the site where the remains were located. Once those remains were collected, they were gathered, turned over to the coroner's office, and then transported to the GBI crime lab for autopsy and identification.
The crime scene was a haunting sight, etched into the memories of all who witnessed it. The backyard, once an ordinary patch of land, had been transformed into a nightmare. Overgrown weeds and tangled underbrush obscured the shallow grave, which was hastily dug and barely concealed. The earth was disturbed, contrasting to the surrounding vegetation, indicating the desperate attempt to hide the horrific crime. As investigators descended upon the site, the air was thick with a sense of dread. The scent of decay hung heavily, a sickening reminder of the life that had been cruelly extinguished. Forensic experts worked meticulously, their gloved hands sifting through the soil to uncover every fragment of evidence. The remains of Latania were found in a state of advanced decomposition, her body reduced to a skeletal form that bore silent witness to the violence she had endured. The shallow grave told a story of haste and panic. The ground was uneven, the result of hurried digging, and the body had been callously discarded as if it were nothing more than refuse. Latania's remains were tangled with roots and debris, a poignant symbol of how her life had been entwined with such brutality. It was clear that whoever had buried her had no regard for her dignity or humanity. Dental records provided the conclusive evidence needed to identify the body. On March 12th, the confirmation came through, sending shockwaves through the community. Sheriff Roundtree acknowledged the tireless efforts of his team and the overwhelming support from the public, emphasizing that the community's involvement was crucial in bringing the case to this stage.
On March 12th, of course, during the course of the investigation, because we did have a missing person, we were able to obtain dental records of Latania Carwell. Those records were delivered to the UBI crime lab in Atlanta, at which time they confirmed through those dental records that the remains that we had discovered on Golden Camp Road was in fact that of Latania Janell Carwell. This has been a long and exhausting investigation, but it will not conclude until the successful prosecution of Leon and Tanya Tripp. I would like to thank my investigators as well as operational support personnel for their tireless efforts in the recovery of the remains of Janell's body. Also, the community support has been overwhelming as they have embraced this case as if Janell was their own child. Without the help of the community, I don't feel that this case would be at this stage. As I stated earlier, this case is far from over, but at least now the community can find peace that Janell can finally be laid to rest, and we can move forward with the prosecution of this case.
The news was a devastating blow to everyone who had hoped for a different outcome. Latania's body was found in a shallow grave, a stark and heartbreaking contrast to the vibrant life she had lived. The discovery of her remains marked the end of a long and exhausting search, but it was far from the end of the story.
How long was she suffering? You know, when did she actually die? What did they actually do to her?
Did he kill her before he drug up that big old hill? Or did he come from behind? Because we walked all back there.
Question after question plagues the community that grew to love Latania Janell Carwell in the months between when she was reported missing just after her 16th birthday until now. Armed with confirmation that human remains found on Golden Camp Road are hers, Sheriff Richard Roundtree says the case can move forward.
Anytime you try a case and you do not have the remains, there's always that small amount of doubt that may be in the juror's mind that the person is not deceased. Especially based on some rumors that went on when this first started. This lays that speculation to rest.
Sheriff Roundtree addresses how his office investigated the disappearance of the teen, admitting they were misguided by what he calls a well-rehearsed story given by Tanya Tripp on the night her husband, Leon Tripp, and daughter left their Tate Road home. And he says even though he conducted several searches, including one directly across the street from where remains were located, they were at a disadvantage.
The remains were found in the backyard of a residence that has found out to be was vacant at the time. At this time, and the bank took over and the person was prepared to move in, surveying the property, they came across. During our search, we only searched common areas, and we encouraged the public to check their yard.
With the identification confirmed, the case moved towards prosecution. Leon and Tanya Tripp faced charges of murder and concealing a death, respectively. Sheriff Roundtree pledged that the investigation would continue until justice was served. The sheriff's office detailed the extensive efforts made during the investigation, including multiple searches and the examination of evidence that ultimately ultimately led to the charges.
3 days after authorities found human remains behind a home on Golden Camp Road, law enforcement used dental records to identify Janell. The scene just 1 mile from the teen's home and last known location, and a short distance from her parents' abandoned truck. Both of them, Leon and Tanya Tripp, in jail and charged with the crime. Pastor Angela Hardin says it was a community prayer vigil at the teen's school in June that preceded a large-scale search just a few feet away from where Janell's body lied in a shallow grave.
To know that this baby was right across the street, within weeks of her disappearance. Oh my God. I think that's the part that really hurts me the most, because she laid there for almost a whole year.
In addition to weekly prayer vigils, billboards, and rocks, Pastor Hardin led searches. She was joined by Ray Montana. Now both say they just want justice served.
They need to pay for what they've done. There need to be judgment.
My thoughts is, was she dead before she went up there? My thoughts is, was she pregnant when she went up there?
The community, though devastated by the outcome, came together to honor Latania's memory. Vigils and memorials were held, with friends, family, and even strangers paying their respects. At a balloon release ceremony, dozens gathered to say goodbye, many of whom had never met Latania but felt a deep connection to her story. Lori Miles, who taught Latania, spoke at the memorial, describing her as a creative and critical thinker who had a bright future ahead. She emphasized the impact Latania had on her peers and the void her absence had left in the school community. The ceremony was a poignant reminder of the life that had been tragically cut short and the potential that would never be realized. The impact of Latania's death on the community was profound. Pastor Angela Hardin and activist Ray Montana, who had led numerous searches and prayer vigils, expressed their grief and desire for justice. They need to pay for what they've done, Pastor Hardin stated firmly, echoing the sentiments of many who had followed the case from the beginning.
Friends and strangers gathering to release balloons in honor of Latania Janell Carwell, the teenager whose body was found in South Augusta last week after being missing nearly a year. News Channel 6's Ann Maxwell has the story from the ceremony tonight.
Jenny, dozens of people came out tonight to pay their respects and find closure. Many of them didn't even know her.
She was everything that any parent could have asked for.
Lori Miles remembers Latania Janell Carwell as a standout student at T.W. Josie High School.
Latania was creative. She was a critical thinker. This girl was a great writer.
But she will never get the chance to graduate. Carwell went missing on April 17th. It was her 16th birthday. After months of searches, prayer vigils, and pleas for clues, her body was found in a shallow grave in the woods behind a house in South Augusta.
Despite the heartbreak, the community found solace in coming together, supporting one another through the tragedy. Events were organized to honor Latania's life, including a gathering on what would have been her 17th birthday. The outpouring of love and solidarity was a testament to the impact Latania had on those around her, even in death. The balloon release ceremony was particularly emotional. Friends and strangers alike gathered to release balloons into the sky, a symbolic gesture of letting go and finding peace. David Haynes, who had never met Latania but felt compelled to help, worked late into the night setting up a memorial for her. "I had to because I was crying a lot," he confessed, his voice choked with emotion. The ceremony was a moving tribute to Latania, a collective act of mourning and remembrance.
Carwell's loved ones and strangers are gathering to release balloons in her honor.
The reason I organized this event so the city can have closure.
The teen's mother and stepfather are charged for her murder, but strangers are mourning her death as if she was their own. David Haynes worked late into the night setting up this memorial for her, even though they never met.
Yes, personally I had to do because I was crying a lot.
The organizer of the balloon release didn't know her either. He says probably 85 or 90% of the people there to release balloons for her didn't know her either.
And I believe that we need to close ourselves. So I thought a good balloon release, a good prayer, we could send her on home.
The people Janell should have trusted most may have let her down, but now a community of strangers gathers to lift her up and give her the support she deserved.
Ray Montana says he is also working on putting together an event to mark what would have been Carwell's 17th birthday on April 17th.
As the legal process unfolded, the community remained vigilant, eager for justice to be served. Sheriff Roundtree's commitment to seeing the case through to its conclusion was unwavering. He acknowledged the long road ahead, but was determined to ensure that Leon and Tanya Tripp faced the consequences of their actions.
On August 23rd, warrants were applied for and obtained for murder on Leon Tripp and for concealing the death of another on Tanya Tripp in reference to the disappearance of their daughter, her daughter, 16-year-old Janell Carwell. At that time, no body had been recovered, but based on information throughout the investigation, we felt confident to move forward with a murder investigation and no longer a missing person or a kidnapping.
The trial was closely followed by the community, with many attending the proceedings to show their support for Latania and her family. The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing the evidence gathered during the investigation and highlighting the inconsistencies in Tanya's story. The defense, meanwhile, faced an uphill battle, struggling to counter the overwhelming evidence against the accused. For many, the trial represented a chance to find closure and ensure that Latania's death was not in vain. The community's support played a vital role in the pursuit of justice, demonstrating the power of collective action and compassion in the face of unimaginable tragedy. The courtroom became a space where the community's grief and determination were palpable, a testament to their commitment to see justice served. Overall, Latania Janell Carwell's story is truly heartbreaking and disturbing. Her bright future was cruelly stolen, leaving a void in the lives of those who knew and loved her. Yet her memory lives on in the hearts of the Augusta community, a symbol of resilience and hope amidst the darkest of times.
Coverage you can count on begins with a community saddened by the news confirming the death of a local teen whose kidnapping story went national. Authorities positively identified human remains found in a wooded area behind a home in Augusta as 16-year-old Latania Janell Carwell. News Channel 6's Renetta DuBose has been following this breaking news all day, and she's been following the story since last year when it began, and she joins us live on Golden Camp Road at the site where those bones were found. Renetta, how was the match actually made?
Dee, those remains were identified through dental records, and the county coroner says it is indeed Latania Janell Carwell. Sad news for many people who have been following this story, not just in the CSRA, but all over the world. And those people now want justice.
I kind of sense it was Janell.
A nightmare come true for countless people in the CSRA following the story of one of Augusta's missing, 16-year-old Latania Janell Carwell.
And he said, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." He was like, "You sure you're okay? If you need me, I'm here." I'm like, what's going on? He said, "That was her. Almost wrecked my car." I said, "That's her who?" He said, "Janell almost wrecked the car again."
As the case against Leon and Tanya Tripp progresses, the community stands united, honoring Latania's legacy and demanding justice. In their grief, they have found strength, proving that even in the face of unspeakable loss, love and solidarity can prevail. The legacy of Latania Janell Carwell continues to inspire those who knew her and those who came to know her story. Her life, though tragically short, had a profound impact on her community, and her memory serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of justice, compassion, and community support. The fight for justice for Latania is far from over, but with the unwavering determination of her community, there is hope that her story will bring about positive change and ensure that her legacy is honored. Thanks for watching, everyone, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.